Excellent. Well, I'm sure a few others will trickle in, but welcome everybody who has joined us so far. Appreciate you hopping on here for another Club Caddie Chronicles. We have a special guest today, Don Ray. So during this is going to be a little different than our last couple, where it was more education and everything else. We're going to be asking a series of questions to Don based around technology and some other things. But during this 45 minutes or so, if you have any questions, please make sure you write them in the questions or in the chat log there. We'll be looking at those and reserve the last 15 minutes to answer some of those questions that you all ask. So before we get started, we're just going to do brief introductions of our team here, and then we'll have Don introduce himself too, and then we'll hop right into the questions. So just to get started, my name is Stu Proctor, PGA member, Director of Sales and Marketing for Club Caddie. Been on the green grass side most of my career, but have spent the last 10 years in the tech side of the world. But besides that, I'll pass it over to Jody to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jody Lozier. I'm also a PGA member. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at Club Caddie. But prior to, my background is all in green grass, teaching, and also as a GM at a private facility. So I'm happy to have everybody here, and especially very excited to talk with Don today.
And I'm Nicole Chapman. I'm the Director of Education here at Club Caddie as well. And I also came from the green grass side, more on the private side, and was the Director of Membership for a couple clubs out here in California. So welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for attending. Don, we're so excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm pumped all these green grass people, right? I mean, it's cool to see all the green grass. Oh, did I jump in on you? But I'll jump in then. Don Ray, owner-operator of Par 61 Golf Course in Mesa, Arizona. Umpired professional baseball for 9 years, so some good stories there. And now I'm the vice president of the PGA of America, and I'm super pumped to be on the show today.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll jump back in. We're super excited to have you, Don. My name is Michael Rollins. I'm one of the co-founders and the director of product for Club Caddie. I'm a PGA member, graduate of Ferris State University, and I've worked across the country at different types of facilities, and yeah, couldn't be more excited.
Awesome.
Excellent. So we'll go ahead and start with you, Michael, if you want to take away the first few questions here, and we can just get right into it.
Yeah, so Don, you mentioned your experience as an umpire in baseball. So going from an ump in minor league baseball, you went all the way up to AAA, right? And then you went into golf. How did that happen? What was the transition like? What got you into the game of golf?
I know it's crazy, right? I guess you don't know where God's going to lead you sometimes. I mean, I did. I wanted to be in the big leagues. I wanted to do the World Series. And a lot of my friends end up making it. And really what happened is, I was in AAA doing a lot of games, and a great job as a minor league umpire is to work for UPS and drive as a Christmas driver, because they always need Christmas drivers, right? It's crazy. And I delivered to a golf course, and Jim Mooney was the PGA head pro there. This guy just like every day he was having fun. And I just asked him, how, if I don't make it to the big leagues, my plan B, how to get a job in the golf industry. And he's like, you got to be a PGA member. And then he gave me the phone number, right? And I'm like, okay, because there's no websites back then. I'm not that old, but there were no websites. And yeah, I found out about the playing ability test and actually got a job after I passed my playing ability test. It was the first tournament I ever played in my life was the PAT, and passed it on the first try because I think I was just oblivious to how much it mattered because I didn't work at a facility, and got a job at the golf course I have now, Augusta Ranch, 30-year-old outside service guy working with a bunch of 16-year-old guys and gals, actually. And they called me Old Man River, which was all right with me, I guess. But yeah, so, that was it. I kind of came in late. It seemed like when I got into the industry, everybody knew each other. And then I was just some guy who, used to call balls and strikes. But kind of interesting where your life can lead you.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of staying along those same lines, for maybe a more traditional career path like I took, going to a PGM accredited university. When I was in college, we didn't really get any technology education, right? It was, you go on your internships and you basically figure out how to, use a computer or a point of sale or T-sheet software, kind of on the fly when you're at work. Do you think that it would be beneficial to have some of that technology training in the PGA, PGM curriculum or anything along those lines while people are going through the process of becoming a PGA member?
To me, technology is the great equalizer, right? I mean, when I was lucky enough to actually run Augusta Ranch just as the general manager before I ever owned it, I was battling against the big management companies, right? And they have a lot of resources that I don't have at Augusta Ranch, a little par 61 golf course. And so to me, technology was everything. It could get me to up to looking like I was bigger than I was. I couldn't afford a marketing team, but I could understand Facebook when it first started. I could understand Instagram when it came around, and Twitter and LinkedIn and these things. And it just allowed me to be better. I mean, even spreadsheets and stuff. I mean, I bought a computer at Costco and taught myself Excel spreadsheets so I could better understand when I was doing the budget at Augusta Ranch. And so these things made me appear to have a college degree when I didn't have one, to understand business when I didn't major in it, and actually just proved to everybody else that I kind of knew what I was doing. So to me, anybody who doesn't adopt early technology or innovative things early is at a disadvantage. And if you do take advantage of it, you're at a tremendous advantage. When I see these young professionals, over 9,000 now associates are in the hopper to be PGA members someday, they can have a definitive advantage if they embrace technology and really understand it to the point where they can prove to that employer, their next employer, like what they can bring to the table. It will surpass in the years of experience that they'll have in knowing what's happening in the current landscape of big golf,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And kind of keeping on that same topic, what do you think are some of the emerging trends? I know you guys at Augusta Ranch have recently put in the top tracer bays and had some really nice success with that. Do you see any other trends outside of top tracer that you think will be coming to the golf industry?
Well, when I'm pumped, right? I mean, you look at the NGF numbers, you got 40 million people playing golf on and off the golf course. If you don't know it yet, you should know there's more golf being played off the golf course than on it. That's a tremendous opportunity. I think, as PGA golf professionals, a lot of us, we wanted to get promoted and write the schedule or be a GM someday so that we can make a little more money and have a little more work-life balance. And so they literally made us bean counters when really we're seed planners. And so any technology, I think, that allows the interaction between a PGA golf professional and a person is a good thing, because when you have relationships, you can't Zoom a high five. You can't Zoom a hug. You can't Zoom that look in their eye when they get it airborne for the first time. And so I think any technologies that enhance our ability to build that relationship, I think, is going to distinguish us to be the leaders in this industry, in this game forever. So yes, absolutely. A top tracer, when you're going to gamify things, if there's a bunch of kids playing computer games, even when I was my age, but now they're on their mobile devices, how can we gamify golf? Well, Top Golf did it, right? That's the gateway drug of golf right now is Top Golf. Top Tracer is just another iteration that actually gets them to smell green grass because they're there. They pull into a parking lot and they see, how many times you see little kids, you guys are all PGA pros, first time they see a putting green, they think it's fake. I remember as a kid watching Wimbledon, I was like, that's not grass. You can't play tennis on grass. Yeah, you can. And I think it's really cool that when they go from Top Golf to Top Tracer, they see that. So a simulator, if you can do that during the winter so that you're really hungry to play golf when the spring comes, great. If you could do augmented reality that allows you to play golf in your office, you're still not going to be able, I'm sure someday you'll be able to smell the grass on some augmented reality. But until they do that, you're going to want to hear the waves crashing at Pebble Beach in real time, not through some audio delay that's happening because they've augmented it somehow. So I think I see kiosks happening in the golf shop. Fine with me. I want the PGA Pro to be on the tee, on the practice green, and on the first tee. And so if that happens, I'm all for it. So AI, I don't know what's going to happen. And you can take pictures of golf swings and AI can tell you what's wrong with the swing. Great, but they don't know how to deliver that information. There's still different kinds of learners, right? Kinesthetic, audio, verbal. That's just a fact. How do you determine that? You determine that through relationship, through facial expressions. And I don't think they'll ever be able to AI that. The personal experience is not going away. It's just going to become more important.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The Top Golf, Top Tracer technology has really been a game changer. I know we have even Club Caddy clients that have installed that, and they're just getting so many more non-traditional golfers out at their facility. So anything that we can do to bring more people to the game, it's going to help everybody in the long run. So yeah, it's awesome.
Well, we get our own way too, right? I mean, we advertise to our 10,000 person database thinking that's growing our business. It's not. You're talking to the same people that already love to play golf. I'm a par 61, $10 as a junior to play. I thought I was scraping the bottom of the barrel of new golfers that might show up. But Top Tracer, all of a sudden, I got people I have never seen before. Now I'm at the top of the funnel. I mean, when 91 out of 100 people in America don't play golf, that's a problem. Not a good market penetration there. And so if we can do something like Top Tracer, the people I see playing Top Tracer, whether they're tatted up or they're 85 years old or they're 5, doesn't matter. It's people I've never seen before. And they don't care how they look. They just care how they feel. And they're having a good time. And so, yeah, it's truly cool. We're sitting on the beginning of an amazing boom in golf, in my opinion. Even though it's booming now, we haven't scratched the surface.
Yeah. It's always the good shots that keep everybody coming back, right? Trying to capture that.
That's like
for them.
And you wouldn't know a good shot unless you had a bad one, right? I mean, so that's okay.
Yeah, we've had plenty of those. So I have a question for you. So I think it was maybe about a year ago-ish, or maybe last summer sometime, the article came out about that work-life balance that somebody had wrote, right? And we're all family people. We're married, have kids, whatever it may be going on in lives. And it was one of those articles that people could resonate with, especially being in the golf business, right? Like everybody has a servant's heart. So, and you're working from sun up to sundown, working 6-7 days a week. How have you been able to, especially being the vice president and then soon to be president of the PGA, how have you been able to balance that work life for you, especially as an owner, operator, all of those things come into play?
Yeah, great question. I was just in the Carolina section yesterday, and Sunday night they had their awards dinner. And every awards winner, when they got to the end of their speech and they thanked their wife and their family, their partner, their spouse, they all talked about everything they'd missed. And so, like, this is a great day where they're getting an award, but then it just reminds them of the things they missed. It made me a little sad. I mean, it was a great night. It was a happy night, but that was the story. And I was like, why does it have to be that way? And I think there's a few things. I think we just have to be really intentional about being present. I think, if you're always worried about what's going on at the golf course when you're not there, and then you're at the golf course, you're always worried about what's happening with your family, you're never nowhere. You're not present at anything. And so you got to be present. And I think that's very intentional. It's making sure that you're actively listening, which, the experts will say it's like a 6-year-old watching TV or in their tablet. They're leaned in, they're looking at it, they're actively listening. And are you doing that? Are you being intentional about that when you're with the people you love, or the people who work for you, or the people you work for? For me, I caution everybody, because they're like, Don, you're everywhere. It's like you got 25 hours in a day. If that's the perception, okay, but understand that's not what's happening. I can use social media. I can use Instagram to take a whole bunch of photos and put it on a music bed and post it, and everybody thinks I'm everywhere. But I'm not going to take a bunch of pictures that Karen and I shared, because she traveled with me this trip, and we went to the coast of Carolina, and we had a lot of date nights while we were there. I'm not showing that because Karen wants her privacy, and I respect that. So, the calls that I have with my daughter, do I have to set up a weekly meeting with my daughter so that I know we're going to talk? Yeah, but that's okay. I have a weekly dinner with my son. Tomorrow night, we meet once a week and we have dinner, even though he's 32 years old. And so I think it's just compartmentalizing your life, even though you're working towards of just being a good human, right? A good father, a good husband, a good vice president of the PGA of America. I think you have to be intentional about it. If you allow it to work you, it will. I mean, that's that old adage, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Absolutely. But utilizing your schedule, for instance, a lot of the section meetings I go to, there's awards dinner Sunday night. There's a member meeting on Monday. if I set up my flight on Sunday afternoon so that I cruise by the golf course, I have coffee with Karen in the morning because that's her love language. Karen's love language is having coffee with her in the morning. An hour in the morning with me and her, it sets up both of our days up. So that's something that's non-negotiable.
That's awesome.
But then I check up a flight that's maybe in the afternoon so I can drive by the golf course on my way to the airport, say hello to everybody. And then if I can get back in time on a Monday, or like this morning, Tuesday morning, I went in early, or Wednesday morning, did my Bible study, and then talked to the staff. Their perception's only been gone a day. So I think you just got to be smart about it. You don't have to spend 2 hours in the men's grill, but you show up when you know they're having lunch. You say hello to everybody and go, "Hey, I've got a podcast to go to. I'll see you guys later." And you're there and you're good. But yeah, your life will run you if you don't run your life. That's a fact.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Being intentional is definitely one of those things that we could all probably practice a little bit better, right? Trying to be more present and in the moment.
Amen.
It's always a nice thing. Plus, it also goes a long way with the people that you've surrounded yourself with too, right? Being more present, being intentional. So, now I just wanted to move on a little bit to, the game itself, like the PGA Tour, Live Tour. There's so much going on, right? And trying to separate the PGA of America to the PGA Tour and Live Tour and what they've got going on that side. So talking about like fan engagement, right? Because it's so controversial for some people to talk about Live Tour versus PGA Tour versus the PGA of America. But I wanted to see, so there's a lot of like wearable technology going on. And you see it with the guys and girls on tour. You see it being brought into like the local levels at the course level. You see it being brought into Top Golf and all of this stuff. So wearable tech is revolutionizing like how athletes train and monitor their health, right? How do you see wearable technology evolving in golf, and what impact do you think it could have on the player's performance or well-being?
Well, I mean, if you can measure it, you can manage it, right? And so I think anytime that you're knowing what's going on, whether it's the Whoop device, that a lot of players were using to know if they had COVID, right? The way they were sleep patterns were, they're like, "Oh, I might have COVID. Something's going on. I didn't sleep well." I know for me, it certainly helped me of like, okay, how much sleep do I really need when I'm doing this? I wore the Whoop for my first year as an officer of the PGA to better understand my sleep patterns as I was moving from time zone to time zone. And I don't wear it any longer, but because I learned a lot about myself of when I'm in a negative and when I'm in a positive, and I've got to take care of myself, whether that's that one extra beer after 10 o'clock at night that you don't need, that impacts you at 7 o'clock the next morning. So I think technology is always going to be better, and I think that's going to improve things. When I see like the USGA rolling the ball back, I think the ball, I don't think it's all of it. I think it's just athletes that are maximizing their nutrition and their sleep patterns and their mental health to be a better golfer and be more focused. So, I guess in the totality of anything that's wearable, if it's helping you live a better life, eat a little healthier. I mean, if you really knew how much your sugar was spiking when you had that one donut, would you have two of them? I mean, come on, So I think and I would imagine a world that I would hope, there's these brain chemicals in your head. One of the great books I read is Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last, and there's one chapter talking about dopamine and the four chemicals, right, that are floating around. And I think there will be a day that a wearable is actually going to measure that. And it might even say, you need a hug. you better go get a hug from somebody because you're kind of sad right now. You don't know that, but you are. Or, hey, you need to celebrate a victory right now. And so, I think the wearables aren't going away. I think they're just going to be more enhanced and like them, if they help us, allow us to. I would hope that the biggest thing that a wearable could discover someday would be you're about to get burned out, because that's something Americans don't know is coming. Like for Caddie's softball team, half of her team don't play softball anymore because you don't know you're getting burned out until it's too far gone. That article about the golf pro crisis, isn't a shame that nobody wants to get burned out. Nobody wants to work 80 hours a week, but every once in a while, I think whether it's your loved ones or a wearable, to have an intervention with you to say, hey, you're doing it again, pull yourself together. go have lunch
Yeah.
with your wife or go call your daughter for 30 minutes, then that's when wearables will truly make a difference in the well-being, not just in being.
For sure. Maybe we could create one of those wearables and just call it like Be Intentional. And it looks like a Garmin, or it looks like a Whoop device or an Apple. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Future
Whatever
ideas,
it is,
right?
who knows? This is where ideas come. Absolutely. Amen.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it gives you a little shock to be more in the moment, or a nudge.
Well, it's funny. My daughter, have you ever seen those devices? My daughter had a necklace that her friend wore. And if she wanted to, she squeezed it, that it would let her friend know she was thinking about her. How cool is that?
Oh,
she loved that because they went to 2 different colleges. Yeah, she would squeeze the little necklace and it would vibrate on her friend's neck 3 states away. How cool is that?
That is amazing. I've actually never heard of that, but I'm kind of like, I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's
I
a
like
real
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Look it up.
I will. I definitely will. So kind of keeping with like the technology part of it, right? Do you think that simulators can bring more players to the sport? And how does that virtual reality, right, of being able to play Augusta or being able to play Pebble Beach or any of these courses that are on everybody's bucket list, but you may not be able to get to? Do you think that will eventually kind of create the more fan engagement, and bring more people into the game? Because it also does assist with like time consuming, right? Because golf can be time consuming when you're not a PGA professional, right? Going out and playing 4, 5, 6 hours around. So the simulators kind of take care of that portion of it. So do you think that could be the future of, golf and tournaments and bringing more people into the game?
Have you guys seen that movie Gran Turismo? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Right. This guy's on a video game, and this is a true story.
Yeah.
He's an awesome at the video game. They actually hold a contest, and they bring these sim drivers to see if they could really be an Indy or they could be a Formula One driver. Isn't that amazing? And it proved that the guy was successful, right? I mean, if you go on Wikipedia, if you can believe Wikipedia, he actually, he won some races, and I can't think of his name right now, but isn't that amazing that he never drove a car until he was actually trying to get on the Nissan? I always called it Nissan, but it's Nissan, I guess. I don't know. The whole movie, I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life. But so to your point on simulators, if there's wearables and you could create pressure and you could create conditions, could somebody play, not Golden Tee, but really play golf with a real golf swing with actual ball and understanding all that, imbalanced situations? And could somebody play virtual golf to a level that when they walk out to a driving range and hit a ball for the first time, they actually hit it perfectly? If it hasn't happened, it's going to happen, right? Wouldn't that be amazing? Because you talk about work-life balance, these gamers, they got zero. They're on their game all the time. They're playing it till 3:00 in the morning. They are going to perfect that game. And so if you had that amount of dedication to your golf swing, you would be a great golfer. It's just we don't have this Gran Turismo type of situation yet. Once Gran Turismo for golf is created, where you're actually teaching them the game and all of these emotions and pressure and people and noise and trying to win, have to make a 3-foot putt, to beat millions of golfers in a gamer competition in the middle of an arena that's got 18,000 people, kind of what Tiger and Rory are going to do. Then I think that the answer to your question is absolutely simulator golf. It could be a game changer. It's just got to be a situation where you're actually learning the swing and the feel of contact and centerness of contact, so that if I put you on the range, it's like riding a bike. You're like, oh, I've done this before. That is when technology, I think, will cross the gap.
Yeah. I bring that up because we were watching a movie the other night with our daughter. She's 10. And it was Night at the Museum. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. And in a part of it, in the beginning of it, and Ben Stiller, who's the actor, was like, oh, yeah, I've invested in this company and it's golf simulators. It's the future of golf. And obviously this movie came out like probably 10 years ago, maybe even more than that. So I just kind of laughed and I was like, oh, that's a great question. 10 years ago, we were talking about it. Here we are today, still talking about it. So I thought that was an interesting one.
Well, and
That
do
is
you mind
interesting.
if I piggyback just a little bit on that?
Yeah.
Because I always wonder how to make that conversion, right? How do you convert that person from the sim to the green? And as a PGA pro, say, okay, you're looking great in here, but that conversion process, how, what's the advice to make that transition?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think we teach swing, stance, and score way before we should. I almost feel like a new golfer should have to play in a scramble with a good golfer their whole first year. And that could be their mom, their dad, their grandma, their grandpa, their buddy, their friend. Because then you'll see that, one, if you play second in a scramble, you see the read, you see the shot. And you'd see how I play. I did this with Caddie when we first started playing. The iteration for me and her was, we played golf and we played a two-person scramble. And of course, I hit it better than her, but she made a few putts. We did a bunch of high fives. And then when she got a little better, I said, now you're going to play two balls and we're always going to pick the best shot you hit because the second person's always good. And so what I taught her was like, this is how good you could be. What gets in the way is the feel of the shot and what you're going to hit and where it's going to bounce and nervousness. But the second golfer is always better. And if that was the iteration. So now let's go a little bit before that. If the iteration on simulator golf is like, hey, let's just have fun today. And I play simulator golf with you. Why wouldn't I? Because it shouldn't just be, everybody thinks it's an individual game. It's far from it. You play it with individuals. And that's the beauty of a four-person scramble. That's the beauty of hitting a shot in front of other people. Getting a hole in one by yourself, it's a hole in one, but it's not that fun. I mean, it's great, but a hole in one in front of a bunch of people, now you truly get why golf is the greatest thing ever. So really to answer your question, I think to bridge that gap is bring in some golfers with you and say, oh, I've played this course before. What? Yes, I've played the real course. I should take you one day. This would be awesome. And you could actually play this course in real time, and it's really cool. So I think that's where it's at. Let's not get so focused on swing, stance, and score. If a number rolls 150 yards down the fairway and gets on the green, that's a greenie, whether they got in the air or not. And I think just celebrating that this game, the best part of it is that your next shot could be the best shot of your entire life, regardless of age. And no other game can do that. And I think that's the journey of teaching somebody. I think it's when Karen was teaching Caddie how to cook, right? Caddie was interested in it. And so they would cook stuff. And then sometimes they'd have this fake restaurant. Caddie would come in and I would say, yes, I'm here to eat at the restaurant. And she had her little menu and then I'd order off it. And then she'd go in the back and they'd cook it and she'd serve it. But the iterations of that was, they learned to cook a little bit and then we did playtime and it was always about fun. And then we went to a restaurant and she saw it actually in live. And then eventually, she's going to, whether she's in the hospitality industry or just is a great mother or a great, spouse or just a single woman who just knows how to cook now, it's a skill. But the skill doesn't start because you got to learn how to cook or else you're going to starve. It started with the enjoyment of preparing a meal. And that's what golf should be about.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Don. I like that explanation. It almost makes me think of bowling, right? Like anybody and everybody goes bowling, but they're not like, oh, I need to learn how to throw a ball or am I a pin bowler or a spot bowler, right? And there's that stigma in golf where you need to be good before you can step on the golf course. I think that's why simulators and top tracer bays help gamify it. So they're interested, they go, they don't have to know anything. I mean, even some I talk to that have never even been to Top Golf still are like, oh, I don't golf, right? So it's almost getting over that and becoming more like a bowling entertainment type thing, right? So to introduce, instead of 91 out of 100 people, maybe we can knock that down to half, right? So
amazing, right? I couldn't agree more. I think it's amazing what golf does. A lot of things that we've been doing for years is completely wrong. It's just, you wouldn't teach any other sport that way. When I coached Caddie's softball team, we had stations, we played together, everything was great. But then when I teach golf, it's one-on-one lessons from the very beginning. I mean, there's no place to hide. You're uncomfortable. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're exactly right. A lot of things we can do there.
Yep.
I love that answer. Fun is definitely my favorite approach. So make it fun.
I hope so. I mean, if it's not fun, then what are we doing then? I mean, whether it's a relationship or a game, I mean, if it's not fun, it's a bunch of brain damage. I mean, we should be having fun all the time.
Absolutely.
Even when we're getting better, right? I mean, failure's fun because then you know what success looks like. You're like, okay, this feels even better because I struck out 17 times, but that home run was worth it.
That's what Ken Griffey said, right?
That's the truth.
Yeah. No, that's great. Oh yeah, go ahead. I'll let you go, Nicole. Real quick, I just want to remind, because we had some new people hop in here. Please come up with any questions that you want to ask. Start thinking about them. Because we're going to spend about 10, 15 minutes at the end just to reserve any questions that you all have. So if you have questions, feel free to write them down in the chat or the question side. Go ahead, Nicole, and then I'll rattle off some of my questions for Don.
Oh, that's so funny. We're thinking the same thing. So perfect. I was just going to remind people to submit some questions. But I did want to ask, I'm just going to throw it out there. As future president of the PGA, what is your first act that you think you're going to focus on when you step in?
My first act. Well, I think you got to, it's if people aren't familiar, you're secretary for 2 years, then you're vice president for 2 years, and you're president 2 years. So unless I really screw something up, I'll be president in November. So cross my fingers. But I think I think about this a lot because when the election happens, you close the meeting, right? And so that day in November when I'm the president, you usually do it about 3 to 5 minutes, and this sets the stage. And actually, the campaign team that helped me get elected, I called the Inner Circle, which was my wife and daughter and 4 golf professionals who are good friends. Actually, 1 non-golf professional. We're actually meeting in 3 weeks to discuss, like, hey, help me. I don't want to be in my own echo chamber here, right? I mean, this is what I want to say. So to answer your question, before I've had consult from my group, I will tell you that most importantly, and this is what I'm going to tell them when we come up with what I'm actually going to say, is I just want everybody to know that this is the greatest game ever. It is the antidote for so many things. And then I think authenticity and being genuine and celebrating failures and successes is what connects us. And that I think that golf is booming, and it's a bummer that the work-life balance has been intruded, but we can all do this together. There's no reason why you can't cover 3 hours of a shift while somebody goes to lunch with their wife or sees a recital or does a parent-teacher conference. And if everybody's covering each other, why does a 40 or 50-hour work week have to be in blocks of 8 hours? Why can't it be in different hours so that we can all kind of work more as a team and feel like everything's great? I just read this. I haven't read it in a long time, but I reread it. But this book, Gung Ho, you ever heard of the book Gung Ho? It's Ken Blanchard and Sheldon Bowles. It's written, those are the guys who did 1 Minute Manager and Raving Fans. But Gung Ho, I won't take too much from it, but you got to read this book. And it just talks about, doing everything together. And that's why it's even more fun when you win as a team. So I guess day one, the one thing I'm going to say is listen, we're all in this together. We all might work off course, on course, public, private, golf tech, retail store, don't care. We're all in this together, and we are, the 30,000 men and women PGA professionals who are the voice of the 40 million golfers on and off the golf course. That's a fact. We are the experts in recreational golf, and so when we talk to manufacturers or amateur organizations or employers of PGA professionals, I want them to know that we are the tangible connection between the golfer and the game. And so I think we have a position of importance, but also of responsibility. And so that very first speech I'm going to give, Nicole, is just going to be that, hey, let's this game, if we're going to take it to the next generation, it's on our backs because we're the ones who are the tangible connection of the game. So what are we doing? What are some measurable goals? That's one thing I'm really big on is measurable goals. I want to know whether by net promoter score or something else, is a PGA professional happier now than they were a year ago? Would they tell their kids to be a PGA professional? I want to measure that somehow. Ultimately, I want to measure how many people play golf, right? Because 9 out of 100 is not a good number. But I think day one, it's going to be to fire people up because at some point they already know their jobs, Nicole. They already know what they're supposed to do. At the PGA of America, all I can do is tell them that they're part of the largest study group known to golf, which is the 30,000 PGA professionals. And let's leverage that study group to be successful, just like kids do when they're in college. And so it'll be motivating, but there will be some action items behind them. I just don't know exactly what those are yet. I mean, I've got about 100 of them, and I don't want to be a mile wide and an inch deep on this one. And that's why my team's going to help me get focused on the 3 things that we have to get done in my 2 years.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that's great. So I have a couple comments. Just I'm taking some notes while you're talking, and then I'll answer or ask a few questions. But first and foremost, tech and how fast it grew. You were talking about how you didn't have a website and just a phone number back in the day, and it's really not that long. I just turned 40. I graduated from Ferris in 2006, and when I went through there, we had like 40 books, these massive books, right? And even the teaching video we'd have to do, we recorded on VHS. That's not even 20 years ago, right? It feels like technology has been around forever and part of our life, but it really hasn't. It's been fast, and with AI and everything else, it's just getting really fast. So you said, adopt and embrace technology. Not only that, I think you really have to dive yourself into it and know, because it's moving so fast in order to be a leader, and then that goes right into what you talked about with being a golf pro and being the face. I worked for Marriott for 10 years and some courses before that. We all got into this industry. When I wanted to go to Ferris and I wanted to be a golf pro, I wanted to play golf, obviously. I loved the customer experience and, being out there and people coming in and saying, hey, who's your golf pro? Driving around the golf course, introducing myself. But especially after 2008, we wore a lot of hats. We were doing everything. We're stuck more behind the office, doing financials and all that. So I think that's where, if you embrace technology and dive into that world, that'll allow you to also give you that time essentially to really be able to create that experience that everybody wants when they come visit your golf course. So but no, that's great stuff. So real quick here, data analytics, let's talk about that. Obviously it's becoming increasingly more important in sports. But can you share how the PGA of America is leveraging data analytics to enhance player performance, course design, and fan engagement?
Yeah, I mean, it's, that is really when we built PJ Frisco, right? Our campus, 600 plus acres, and our teaching is all done down there now. Level 2 and level 3, level 1 still virtual. Level 2 and level 3 are at the headquarters of the PGA of America. We never had a campus before, right? I mean, I know when Caddie was going to college, the most important thing is like going to the campus and going, do you see yourself here? Do you see your child here? And you got to feel it, right? You're like, this is where I want to be. And we never had that because Florida didn't offer us a campus. It just gave us a building. And so I think the data analytics there, we want that to be the Silicon Valley of golf. I mean, it sounds like TaylorMade might go down there, or at least have something there. That would be great. Our teaching and coaching center, powered by T-Mobile. Do I get points for that? Hopefully from Jeff Price, if our new partner of T-Mobile. But this is all about, TrackMan and launch monitors and gathering all that with the wearable data. We want to be first and foremost on that because we want to make sure that our educational program is up to speed. One of the things you guys might be familiar, but our education just launched into 3.1. And what the difference between 3.0 and 3.1 is, 3.0, you have to take all these classes, and then we gave you a final exam. Well, if that took you 2 years to complete those classes, that stuff's out of date. It's over. I mean, especially with AI where it's changing by the day. Now 3.1 is you take a class, you get tested on it now. And that will help us get people through their membership into being specialized, into being certified, and then hopefully being a master professional. And we actually changed the name of what we call PDRs. They were MSRs before, member service requirements. And we're like, well, member service, how about professional development? And that's what we call them now, PDRs. And that's what we want you to personally be developing all the time. But to answer your question, absolutely. Carrie Haig, we look at data capture on all the cameras that we have at a PGA Championship. When somebody enters into a concession stand, how long did they stay? What did they buy? When they left, how long was the time? Do we position things a little bit better? Flow of traffic, where are the restrooms? Where are we parking all the shuttle buses? Huge data analytics. When you talk about the Ryder Cup and Zach Johnson, he called them the nerd herd, and they utilize shot patterns, and everybody's questioning, well, how come Lucas didn't make the team? How come Keegan didn't make the team? They pulled JT. What was going on there? This was all data analytics of who would work better with somebody else, kind of the pod system that Azinger had, but also judging by shot, by the shot information that they have on the tour now. Where do you tend to miss? And do we put you with somebody who misses similarly because you're used to those kind of shots? And if it's best ball or foursomes, should we pair people up? So when Zach took all this information in, it wasn't because, oh, JT's his buddy. Absolutely not. I can't wait to see what this Netflix show says. Season 2's coming, right? March 6th. One of the episodes is about, picking the 6 people. And I think you're going to find out when you watch that episode, there's way more to it than what people thought. It's like, oh, well, he knows Ricky and he knows Justin. And maybe he didn't like Keegan or didn't like Lucas. Absolutely not. Give us a little bit of credit. We're putting a lot of data into picking a Ryder Cup team because we want to win. It's fun to win. And so data is, if you're not into data, you're missing out, because whether you're picking a Ryder Cup team, and believe me, Europe did this before we did. If you're not using data to pick a Ryder Cup team or to pick maybe even the staff at your own facility, you're missing out on putting together a team that's winning, whether that's at Augusta Ranch or for America.
Yeah, that makes total sense, and goes back to your umpiring days. Baseball's been doing that for years, like even before technology, right? Scouts and everything else, all about data, right? So, yeah, that's brilliant.
It's Moneyball, right? I mean, that's it. It's Moneyball. It's all about data.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So future technologies, obviously, we talked about how in the last 20 years technology has just evolved quickly and rapidly, and it's just getting faster and faster. Even with simulators, I feel like there will be a day where we hit those other senses of feel and smell and everything else. But looking ahead, what emerging technologies do you believe will have the most significant impact on the golf course in the next decade?
Well, I think some of it's going to be the golf course in and of itself, right? Agronomically, what are we doing to conserve water? What are we doing to make sure we don't have to overseed? Can you create a cultivar grass that isn't going to go dormant in Arizona so that you don't feel like you have to overseed? Certainly now with turf paints and that have charcoal in them to keep them heated up a little bit, so maybe they don't go dormant. That would be great. But I think there are going to be cultivars of grass that are going to be invented or going to be invented that are going to help. Of all the things that people worry about golf, we want to be the best stewards. The superintendents are doing amazing things in their best management practices, their BMPs, to make sure that golf is not only good for people, but it's good for the environment. And I think we've actually led by that. I think the superintendents absolutely have. I mean, that's why when COVID happened and we said get back to golf or back to golf, it's like we invented social distancing. 4 people play every 9 minutes on 85 acres. I mean, give me a break. I mean, we are 10,000 steps and 2,000 calories. This is who we are. So on the agronomic side, I think it's going to be substantial. I think on the technology side, I don't know. It's kind of, this is why I think you have committees, because for instance, I've been telling PGA professionals just recently, they're like, PGA's not doing anything to promote the game. Well, the algorithm that they're watching, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. It's what this algorithm thinks you might be interested in. It never really gets you out. And right, if you watch The Social Dilemma, that movie, the algorithms are driving us farther and farther apart because you end up leaning into things that they might interest you, but it really drives us farther apart as a country or as an industry. But we are doing fascinating things, and what's on Caddie's algorithm are really cool ideas. And so I know that I know that I don't know, right? And so I know that I don't know. And so I'm not sure what's out there. I think, certainly the experience of getting people onto the golf course, like Chat GPT, if you don't have that on your phone right now, you're silly. I mean, why wouldn't you use it to kind of get your own brainstorming going on and type in there, hey, I want to write a grant for my junior program at Augusta Ranch. What would a grant look like? You used to have to pay a lawyer $1,000 for that. Now I can do it on Chat GPT and it'll tell me everything to say. And I can change some words, hit print, and send it to a local foundation is giving money to golf or to junior programs, right? Whether it's golf or football or soccer. So I think emerging technologies aren't maybe going to be as golf specific as you think, but they're going to have a direct impact on the industry. Now, certainly fitting systems that automatically fit you for clubs and you don't need a golf pro. Does that concern me? Maybe a little bit, but not really, because I still think you're going to have to talk to a PGA golf professional. It's hard buying a car from Carvana because you just want to drive the car around at Carvana and you can't, right? So I think the wearables are going to be all over it. I think the augmented reality golf, where it actually teaches you how to play, not just how to play a game, but how to play our game, I think is going to be new and better. And then I think any technologies that gets us out of the office and onto the golf course to build relationship and loyalty, then those things should be embraced quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. And just taking the technologies that are out there and incorporating them into golf, right, to make it fun, to gamify it, whether it's, you know,
Mhm.
the football games on your carts, watching live, whatever it may be, all sorts of different technologies out there to just gamify it, make it a better experience, like I don't have to think, oh, I want to watch the game, but I also want to go play golf. What am I going to sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
So great. Well, I have one more here, and then we'll open it up. We do have some questions, it looks like. So if
Mhm.
anyone else wants to
Some
add
good
questions,
ones.
please do so. But kind of the opposite of that, challenges and opportunities. What do you see the biggest challenge and opportunities facing the integration of technology in golf today?
Old curmudgeons who don't get it. What else is the negative of technology? I mean, certainly you worry about the bad guys getting AI and what are they going to do with it, right? I mean, talking to Gideon Hughes, one of our board members, he's like, man, these white hat hackers that are out there, they're scared to death of what could actually happen. Even taking a picture of a QR code and where that could
Yeah.
lead you to, and you might not know what's going on. So I don't see any negatives to technology other than not embracing it and then not understanding it and then using it inappropriately. It's somebody buying a new set of clubs. To them, that's new technology. If they don't get a golf lesson, they're going to suck with the new clubs just like they suck with the old clubs. And because they're not hiring somebody to walk them through the technology. And I think it's also recognizing, listen, this is a technology broadcast. I don't know what's going on. That's why I lean on you, the experts. You should be challenging me of like, if you ask me, Don, what do you expect out of your software? I don't know because I don't know what I don't know. My wife has an iPhone.
Yeah.
She uses it a little bit. My iPhone's got so much stuff going. I got apps. I'm organizing my time. I'm talking to my daughter. I'm taking readings from soil. To her, it's a phone and she watches videos on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to ask her, what do you want more out of your iPhone? She doesn't know what she doesn't know. So I think that's the key is embracing technology companies and challenging them. What don't I know? What do you think I need for my business? I tell you what I think I might be missing. And then you tell me what you can deliver and kind of flip the script. There's a lot of companies out there that are giving pros what they want instead of what they need. And we do this in the golf industry all the time. Hey, what do you want to work on today? Oh, we'll work on the driver. Why am I asking somebody who doesn't know how to hit a ball what they need to work on?
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, and of course they want to work hitting the driver. That's not going to help them score better. And I'm giving them what they want instead of what they need. Software companies need to flip the script on this too. Don't give me what I want.
Yeah.
Give me what I need, and that will help the industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Use your technology companies, partners, vendors, anybody, right, that you work with, and use them as consultants, right? And I think that's the better way to, run a company or be a tech company is, hey, what's your pain points? And can we help you with those, right? And really use them to, as a partner and be a consultant for you. And then I think, like you said too, change is the biggest challenge, I would say. And
Yeah.
you said it in a different way for sure, but change is. But if you don't change, you're going to get left behind, and things are moving faster, and really have to change. And again, use people around you and your partners inside of the tech world, or even your club manufacturers, whatever it may be. I'm sure club manufacturers have analytics of how many irons they sell versus drivers. So they shouldn't be selling you drivers to put in your shop if you're not going to sell them, and you're going to have to just replace them next year or whatever it may be. So, oh, that's great. I think that's all I have. I don't know about the rest of the team, but we have some questions that looks from the group as well.
Yeah, we do. We have some really good ones. Nicole, did you want to take those on?
Yeah, so I'm going to start
right.
with Tyler just because he put it in the chat really quick a little while ago. So he says, I am a non-PGA member. I've worked in the industry for about 5 years now. I have moved up quickly due to my technology knowledge and my business acumen. I'm a 21 handicap, so it feels like being able to pass the playing test is far away. I'm also already the director of golf here, and I'm comfortable in my position. However, I was wondering, is there any way I can be involved in the PGA?
It's a great one.
Well, there's certainly a lot of different things now. I mean, we have something called the affiliate status, where you go through level 1, you don't lose your amateur status, and you can see if that PGA education is something that interests you, and then you can roll into level 2 or level 3. As far as passing the PAT, to be quite honest with you, that's the only thing that separates us from anybody else. You want to be a member of the CMAA? God bless you. They have great education. Fill out an application. You're a member tomorrow. If you want to be a member of the PGA, you got to tee it up. You got to show that you can play this game. And so if you want to be a PGA member, you're going to have to pass that playing ability test. But if you're at 21, it's not as hard as you think it's going to be. Whether it's Operation 36 and working, because I guarantee you the reason you're 21 is because you're blowing 10 shots right away from 100 yards and in. I know I could get you to pass the PAT, but really to be a member of the PGA, you're always going to have to pass the playing ability test. In my opinion, you know what I mean? I'll be the president, certainly. And the membership committee looks at different ways. I mean, right now, it used to be everyone on this stream, you had to play 36 holes in one day and pass and play lower than the target score. Not anymore. You play 36 holes in one day and we take 18 holes of that. You could play 4 more PATs and we're going to take the best 18 holes out of that and put them together. That's as far as I'm going. I mean, that's a pretty good bonus. All you got to do is to shoot 2 of your best rounds of your life in a 12-month period, and you're going to be a PGA member. Listen, if you can't do that, then I'm sorry. You might not ever be a PGA member, and that bums me out. But it's also the level of standard that I want the PGA of America to be. We have to be able to show people I can do the 9 shot patterns. Just have to. So I think get with the PGA professional and be. I want you to be a PGA member. If you're into technology, let's be a PGA member. And I'm sure a PGA member would love to work with you to get you there. You're not as far as you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that far. I was going to mention that they've definitely made it a lot easier. I remember when they first did that, but it just working on your game a little bit. And honestly, if you really work towards just passing the PAT, there's ways to get around. Like if you can't hit a driver and you're slicing it everywhere, don't take a driver. You're just hitting the target score. You're not playing against anybody else but the course and yourself. So I would say going after it, and the affiliate program's great. You can get involved, you can get in, and then you have some time anyways to work on your game and try to pass it. I know there's been people that have tried the PAT like 15, 16, 17 times and finally passed it. So a lot of them actually. So
and Stu, you know what? A lot of them don't take a caddy. If I'm taking a PAT, I'm taking a caddy with me. Why would I not have a caddy with me to because I'm going to get nervous. I'm going to be a wreck. That's okay. So take a caddy when you're taking the PAT.
Somebody to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have to take a caddy for sure.
So we have one from Nathan. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it, which is, as a lifelong lover of baseball, I've always felt like there was a strategic intersection in analytical approach, numbers, anticipation, etc. What intersections have you seen have been in both at high levels?
Ooh. At baseball or golf? Is he asking specifically about or like
both?
Yeah, both. Yeah. I think baseball. Certainly watching the movie Moneyball. I mean, I was around then, right? I mean, I was an umpire. I got out in '97, and so when all that was kind of going on, I was there, right? I mean, it's oh God, who's the guy who hits the home run? Who had the bad elbow? Can't think of his name, but he was a catcher for the Pawtucket Red Sox when I was in AAA. Scott Hatteberg was actually a player when I was an umpire. Had him a lot when I was in AA and AAA. So I think the intersection of how to pitch people, the spin rates, obviously pitching alone has changed remarkably of arm velocity and how much spin to put on curveballs and applying foreign substances to make sure your ball's spinning a little bit more to make it more difficult to hit. So I think it's helping cheaters get a little better, unfortunately, but I also think bat speed and the way that they're all swinging up at the ball now. Back in the day, they used to swing down at the ball. I think the technology in golf, which is enhancing things, is obviously everything with pressure plates and generating the speed of coming up. There's a bunch of teachers now that are teaching big time lag, coming really low, using your legs to push and use the earth to hit it out, swinging left. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff going on. And I think those data points are helping us show you to optimize your body type. And so I think there'll be more and more of that. As far as like running a business, I just think there's more, I think we should utilize more of the Strength Finders type of software out there to put teams together. Like, sure, if you never had Strength Finders, you should get it. It teaches you your 5 strengths and then tells you to marry up with people who have the opposite strength as you. That's how you build teams. That data is already available. We should be utilizing that for sure.
All right. So, Gif, I know you had a couple questions. I'm going to ask your first one and then hopefully circle back, but we're just running out of a little bit of time here. So, he asked, what are the top 3 skills a PGA professional needs to have in 2024 that they didn't need or know about in 1994? And as an owner, how and where do we find trainers for golf pros for the future?
Oh, man, that's a good question. We could have started off the whole show with that one. I think right now, some things have never changed. You just have to be a people person, and you have to get out of, I think back then we felt like we had to become a general manager so we could make a living. Not anymore. I think the return on investment of the PGA professional is getting them out there, creating relationships, which leads to loyalty, which is sustainability of a facility. So that would be one thing for sure. It really hasn't changed, but let's focus back on being people. I think 2, definitely understanding technology and outsourcing things that you don't like to do anyways, so that you can go do the things that you need to do. I think before you just felt as a PGA member, I'm going to wear all these hats because that's what's cool about being a PGA member. Hey, I like to wear the hats too, but at the end of the day, some of these hats mean more to the success of the business than others. Why not outsource some of those hats to people who like to do that stuff? Because I don't maybe want to be a bean counter. What was the second half of that question? He said,
where do we find trainers for the
oh, yeah. Oh, man, this is what I think is like right now, all these new golf professionals, they need mentors. They just do. They have the recipe to be a golf professional. Good for you. Doesn't make you a cook. The only way to be a cook is to be in the kitchen with somebody who knows how to cook. They bring life to the recipe, and that's what we need to do. In addition, the mentee is going to help the mentor because the mentor is beat up. Work-life balance is beat them up. So actually the coaches exist. They're already there. It's just they're not offering their services because they're burned out. But if a mentee would find a mentor, they would not only learn more about what the industry should be about, becoming a cook and not just a recipe reader, but also engage the mentor to go, wow, this is why I got in the game in the first place. So that's something I'm going to push. To answer one of your questions, to really push when I'm president, is the mentor-mentee relationship, but really getting these mentees to find the mentors because it'll actually make everybody happy.
Yeah. Well, and I know Michael had a question about some of the education side, but I'm hoping we get to that one towards the end, Michael. But one other question from Jason. Great to see the PGA buying Summit, moving it to Frisco. Historically, the show has been merchandise-centric. Will this year's Summit consider bringing in a section of technology companies to the exhibit?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. I mean, one, the merchandise show is never leaving Orlando. Let's be honest. I mean, you need that much space. And Frisco will never be able to handle that space, right? The convention center is only 100,000 square feet. I think what you're going to see, we work with Reed, right? Reed owns the show. You're onto something. I mean, that's what we're looking at. To us, and we're figuring all this out as we talk. But if we're the Silicon Valley of golf, then why aren't we doing it in technology? When I got the T-Mobile Teaching and Coaching Center right there in Frisco, then I'm making Jeff Price so proud right now. But anyways, absolutely, I think there should be technology there. This is where we should be testing technology. Innovation should be happening there. The best new products, this should be where we feature them. And I think that education should be built around that. One, getting through the specialized to certified to master professional tracks, and working on mentoring that way, but then actually leaning into innovation. So we'll see where Reed wants to go on the apparel side of that. I just don't know how we do much better on the apparel side than we do in January, which was a very successful show. But I'm not sure. Well, we're going to work with our partners at Reed to figure this out. But to your point, a couple things I'd like to see is it focus on technology, focus on mentoring, and then I think we should actually do a customer show, a consumer show. Nobody does really a really good consumer show. And I think we could really tell a lot about who the PGA America member is by having a consumer show that speaks to the golfer, the 40 million plus on and off, and the PGA member being the one that actually has the show that talks to the consumers.
And with that said, we are right at our time. We do have a couple more questions, but we are at the
we might need a part 2. We might have to do another show like in 3 months or something, just catching up, because there is a lot. And I appreciate you guys. It's good. We can take another question. It's up to you. I mean, like I said, I'm good. I got to call it a little bit, but do you want to end it, or you got one more question? A bonus question. This could be a bonus question.
So.
Let's do one more question. Pick out a good one.
Ooh, okay. Well, Michael did have a question that I know he was kind of engaging. Michael, do you want to bring that one up?
No, that's okay. We can take that offline. You can read the yeah. There's a couple of questions in the chat. That's okay.
Because I like this one personally, so this is for me. What role do you see AI playing in helping run a golf operation, and what are some future revenue opportunities that golf courses of the future will need to get into?
Yeah. Well, I think AI, if it can save us time, right? I mean, if I can write 100 Instagram posts, store them up, and be able to send them on a schedule, then I can go do other things. I even think about these automatic pickers that go around the range now. Great. If that outside service person can walk up and down the top tracer base, building relationship with their age group, because there's not a bunch of 56-year-olds playing top tracer. They're in their 20s and their 30s, and I need the outside service guys doing that. But I think AI, I think where it's really going to help is to do some of the things that we've been doing that take up too much of our time because we're not really good at it anyways. Writing posts, creating material, editorials, of writing executive overviews. I mean, you can chat GPT. If I put in all of my performance and then I say, write me a 200-word executive overview of this that I can send to my owners to talk about, how the golf course was. Do they really care that if I wrote it? If I'm the one pumping in the data and I'm changing a few words, no one's going to say that I am stealing any information. Like if you're going to college, right? Then of course AI can't write your paper. But if I have AI write my executive narrative for my owners and it saves me time to go give more lessons and grow the game, why wouldn't they allow that? So I'd like them to see AI that. And I think just embrace it. I think when it becomes customary, because we know this is going to happen on Microsoft Word, where there'll be an AI engine in there, and you'll just say, "Hey, write me a letter terminating my agreement with my land, with my." Well, I'm doing this right now. The housekeeping, not the housekeeping, but the janitorial company for Augusta Ranch. Well, I'm going to terminate that agreement. I have to write a termination letter. Well, before I'd have to write that thing, I can go on Chat GPT and write me a cancellation letter for this janitorial company and print it. And then I print it and then I send it and I had to write it. So little things like that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think eventually if an AI engine was able to tell a golfer what he was doing wrong, and then it said, go see a PGA professional in the year to teach you how to do this, well, then great. They can do the assessment. I don't care who runs the blood work. I just want a good doctor to make sure that I'm better. And PGA members are the best doctors in the game. So let AI do the blood work, and then we'll get everybody healthy.
Well, I think that was wonderful. And Jody, I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Don, so much. Everybody, thank you for coming in, your questions. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to everybody, but we're going to work on scheduling that part 2 with you. So stay tuned, everybody, because we'll be back for more. And thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.